Everyone, my name is Ran. In this video, I will talk to you about statistical fine mapping. This is a short warm-up video, only 6 slides. My goal for this video is to try and intuitively explain what fine mapping is. If you feel like you already have a pretty good grasp on what fine mapping is, you can feel free to skip to the next video. So the intuition for fine mapping is tightly linked to that of GWAS. GWAS is genome-wide association studies, which you probably have learned in a previous lecture at this workshop. It can be thought of as the scout. So if you have a phenotype of interest, say for example is schizophrenia, you want to scout out the genome first by performing a GWAS, and you see that many genomic locations show up as significant. This is an actual Manhattan plot from a 2014 paper that's published in Nature, where they performed GWAS on schizophrenia. You can see that many regions contain significant variants. But the scout's job is not finding the true causal drivers behind all of these associations. And if you take a closer look at one of these loci, say this one, you will find many variants that are above the genome-wide significance threshold. But most of these variants won't end up mattering for the phenotype of interest, or at least you don't want to study all of them in your follow-up studies. So fine mapping can search through this region, and it uses statistical tools to try and pinpoint candidate causal variants that are the drivers for all the signal. So I emphasize the word causal because I want to make sure that we carefully define causal here in statistical fine mapping. So it only means statistical causal, and it needs to be separated from the definition of biologically causal or pathogenic. So when we infer causality with statistical fine mapping, we get these variants who are claimed to be causal in a very specific sense. That is that they explain the observed statistical association given the data and the model assumptions. It's very important to keep in the back of your mind that the model is not perfect, and it can have many things that are not realistic, not perfect with it. For example, there's can be uncontrolled confoundings, and the causal variant may even be missing in the data set, and so on. The causal variant identified with statistical fine mapping are only candidates for experimental follow-ups. But on this side, biologically causal or pathogenic is a much more stringent threshold to cross. It implies a direct mechanistic role in trait or disease etiology, and it requires validations for experimental studies. So with the definition out of the way, let's come back to fine mapping. So you may wonder, why are so many variants show up as significant if there are only a few variants that are causal? So this is due to a phenomenon called linkage disequilibrium, and it can act as a camouflage in the region and hide causal signals. So in case the concept of LD didn't get covered in the previous lecture, I want to just spend one slide talking about this. So LD is the non-random correlation of alleles at different locations. Because of how recombination works, segments of DNA that are physically close together tend to be inherited together. So here you can see in this figure a variant on an ancestral chromosome, here showed with this red triangle, tend to be inherited together with this neighboring variant. And suppose that we can see the present day chromosomes and compare it with the ancestral chromosomes, you can see that this block is inherited together, and you can see it as a block. Long and short, we don't know, but it's inherited together with its neighbors. So suppose, like, look back on this locus, and we know that there are two true causal variants that actually matters for the phenotype. If we perform a genome-wide association study on this locus, we will not only see these two causal variants show up as significant, but all of their neighbors, simply because they are correlated to the causal variants and due to being inherited together. And if we look at the LD structure in this locus, it's often visualized with this triangular heat map. The redder it is, the higher the correlation. Among all the variants in the red block, right here, If any one of them is causal, it could result in all of them being above the significance threshold simply because they are correlated. And one more note here. You might wonder if the lead SNP here, meaning the one with the highest minus log 10 p-value, is the causal variant in the region. Sometimes that guess is correct, but there are many realistic scenarios where these lead SNPs are not causal. So phi mapping basically take the guesswork out and use statistical modeling and rigorous inference to try and recover the true causal SNPs in a given region. And the resolution of phi mapping, as you can probably guess from its name, is very fine-grained. The resolution is down to single base pair. So most statistical phi mapping algorithm will output a probability of causality for each of these single variant in the region. And if it's successful, then the probability of causality for this SNP right here should be high, and this SNP here should be high because they're the ground truths. So to give you a sense of what successful phi mapping looks like, we use the same locus plot here and the two same causal variants from the previous slide. And to recover these two causal variants is our goal. In practice, most phi mapping algorithm will output two important quantities in order to achieve this goal. One is the posterior inclusion probability. We call it PIP for short. It is the probability that a SNP is causal given the observed data. And the other quantity is called credible sets. So each credible set, and there can be many in this region, in this plot, it show there's two credible sets in this region, and there can be more. They capture the uncertainty of the identity of the causal SNP among its LD neighbors. So phi mapping is working if the credible set contains the causal variance in this locus, and the PIPs for the causal variance are hopefully on the higher end, for example, 0.8 or 0.9. So that's basically it for this video. Next, we will dive deeper into the mathematical details of phi mapping, and specifically what is Bayesian phi mapping and what is the ABF method, which is a very commonly used method in phi mapping. And I will also show you how the posterior inclusion probabilities are calculated.